Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Good Morning Lambeau. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Joined alongside Tim in Green Bay, here to talk some Packers this morning. Tim, how we doing, big dog?
Good morning.
Oh, man, that's what I'm talking about, man. I've already had a cup of coffee, and I'm on to the trail mix now. So here we are, man. I'm over here eating trail mix at 9:30 in the morning.
Nothing says breakfast like coffee and trail mix, huh?
Hey, you got to do what you got to do, man. Got to do what you got to do. Good morning to everybody in the chat. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us, man. If you would hit that like button on the way in. First question here, Patrick says, do you think that the Packers wait until after the draft to pick up a free agent? Tim, that's definitely
a really good question.
Yeah. One of the things that happens, in my opinion, I want to get your take on this, Tim, is like you look at the free agent class, you go, okay, here's where it's deep, here's where it's shallow. And you look at the draft class, you go, here's where it's deep and here's where it's shallow in terms of positions, right? And then sometimes those get kind of like, it's almost like a blockade, right? It's like it gets jammed up to where if you've got multiple players at one specific position, teams don't want to be the first one to overpay. So it's kind of, now Goody seems to attack it a little different. The higher name free agents, like the more well-known free agents, I should say, it seems like he goes right after them day one. Here's our best offer. Take it or leave it. And then they move on. But then on the backside of free agency, I could also see him kind of coming in there and getting some bargain deals if one specific position was so heavy, it was oversaturated, right? And then all of a sudden you look up at the end of free agency and after the draft and you're like, wow, there's actually 2 or 3 quality players still sitting there because teams said, we couldn't get our top, 1 or 2 guys at that position. Let's see if we can fill the need in the draft. And then as soon as the draft's over, maybe they did fill that need and you still got those guys sitting out there. You know what I'm saying? But what's your take on this right here, man?
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think you're right about, Goody likes to make an offer and that's it. I'm not going to get into a bidding war or a back and forth or, hey, we'll add $5 million here or we'll move this. Like the offer's the offer, which is one of the things I respect about how he operates. And we know he's very, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, I guess, tentative when it comes to free agents. If we're going to go after someone, we're going to go after him. And he's going to put that offer out there. As far as the timing, like Patrick's question here, I think it's a possibility. I really do, unless we're talking about, like you said, the top tier names that you got to get an offer in early. But I think it could happen that way. We'll see. I just hope we land somebody, man. I feel like we're 1 or 2 pieces away, really, from getting over the hump. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, and that's why I kind of think like when it comes to defensive tackle and free agency, I could be completely wrong, but I'm not on board. Let's go get Milton Williams. Right, because you're going to be overpaying for him. I think he's a good player, maybe even very good, but he's not great. Now, it's an important position, tier 1 of importance. So if you're going to overpay for a position, that's the one you want to do it. That edge, left tackle, and of course quarterback. But when you look at it from its entirety, there, it's like, can you truly improve that position by getting him? Yeah, it would improve, but what if you now pass on one of the best 3 techs in the draft because you signed Milton Williams, right? That's the tough part. And I think when it's a position of tier 1 importance, I think teams are more likely to double dip. Like look at what Atlanta did. Atlanta went out and threw the checkbook at Kirk Cousins, right? And they, gave him all that money. And then they turned around and drafted Michael Penix Jr., right? Because it's that important of a position. And people raked them over the coals. And I could see people criticizing them for that. Like, hey, what are you doing? You just screwed your books completely up. Like, why would you throw the book at this dude and then turn right around and draft a guy in the first round that some didn't even think he was worthy of that pick? Now, turns out by the end of the year, all of a sudden Kirk Cousins benched. Michael Penix steps in. It looks like it's going to be Michael Penix's team moving forward, which gave a ton of guaranteed money to Kirk Cousins, so it puts you in a bad spot. Well, that being said, they got their guy. They feel like they got their guy in Michael Penix Jr., and they were trying to cover all the bases. So I can see both sides, but ideally, if we do that with someone like Milton Williams and we throw a bunch of money at him, and then we turn around and we draft a great 3 tech, and Devontae Wyatt ends up taking that next step, I guess you're deep at that position, But
Yeah.
I just don't like the idea of overpaying for anything less than great. You know what I'm saying? If there's a position though, that's one of the positions you do it.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I'm also with you that I think there's a lot of D-line talent in the draft. We've gone over it. I'd almost rather see Goody do what we did last night in the mock and get aggressive and just move up and get somebody, as opposed to giving a veteran player a big contract towards the middle or later stages of their career. Because either way, like you said, we have to get better at the position, and I think you do that through a combination of drafting and then also signing some free agents. But I'm not on board with overpaying for a free agent and then trying to balance the books later.
Right.
NFL not for long, right? You never know.
Mm-hmm. No doubt. And the draft that Tim is talking about here is this one right here that we did last night, and I tweeted it out. A lot of people loved it. There was way more people that liked it than didn't. Now, there's one or two that said that's an unrealistic trade. I agree with that. But
yeah, we knew that going into it.
We're working the system there going, okay, they're saying there's no way that the Jaguars would take a first this year, like our 23rd pick, and a first-round pick in 2027, plus our third-round pick this year for the 5th overall pick. I understand that argument. Never say never, but never, right? Like it's possible, but highly unlikely, albeit that's the trade we worked out. We got a 5th in return as well, and we went up and got Mason Graham, defensive lineman out of Michigan, hands down the best defensive lineman in the draft. Our goal was to draft either Travis Hunter at cornerback, Mason Graham at defensive tackle, or Abdul Carter at edge. We wanted one of those 3 players, right? We were not going to take Ashton Gianti that early. So once all but one of those players were gone, that's when we pounced. So once Abdul Carter went with, I think, the 4th overall pick, or maybe the 3rd. I think it was the 4th. It was the 4th. Then that's when we jumped up and took the 5th pick and, traded for it and got Mason Graham. So then we ended up trading back, and we picked up tackle Ariante Ursary. Then in the 4th round, we didn't have a 3rd round pick because we gave that away to climb up to that number 5 spot. We took wide receiver Torrey Horton, 6'3" out of Colorado State, big body receiver. And then in the 4th round, we took Zy Alexander, cornerback out of LSU. Also in the 4th round, we took tackle Chase Lunt out of Connecticut. We then traded back again and got C.J. West, one of my favorite draft picks here of this entire draft, C.J. West out of Indiana at 149. And then in the 5th round, we took linebacker Jay Higgins out of Iowa. I still don't have any clue why they're throwing an F on him, no matter where you draft him. It's just so strange to me. And then we traded back again. We ended up getting tight end Aronde Gadsden the second out of Syracuse, which is just, man, they gave us a D- for the pick on our board, Tim. He's like hovering around the top 100. We got him at 187. What a great pick there. And then linebacker Jalen Walker out of Indiana, we got with the 7th round pick. Thanks
to Jake Shavink for that tight end. He was all over
absolutely.
Last night. That was great.
And that's the whole point of doing these exercises. You're gathering information, and otherwise wouldn't have even looked at him. Now we're looking at him like, man, when you get around that 100 mark, if he's still available, it might be worth it to take another tight end. I know people are thinking, but you've got Luke Musgrave. My rebuttal to that? But we've got Luke Musgrave. Like I wanted Musgrave to pan out more than anyone, and he may turn into a great pro. He just has not shown it up to this point. And the reality is those guys are going to get hurt. Yep. You see Tucker Kraft out there with the harness sometimes on the arm, right? Luke Musgrave missed significant time. Tight end's a tough position. So as of right now, I don't think Ben Sims is we got rights to Ben Sims, don't we? And I think Fitzpatrick. So you like those guys, but if you can upgrade, I think Aronde was, what was he, 6'5", Tim? 6'5"?
I think so. We can pull up his sheet here, maybe even bigger.
And as Jake pointed out, he can play all over the place. He's not your traditional inline tight end. He can play that, but his strength is he can move around. He's kind of like a big wide receiver. And what are we talking about? We need bigger body wide receiver to help stretch the field a little bit, right? So I think it was a lot of fun. It really was, man. So all right. So anything else you want to add to that, Tim? I know you brought it up. I figured I'd flash it on the screen here real quick.
Yeah, I just double-checked. Gadsden is 6'5", 236 out of Syracuse. So we know Mike Tirico will like that pick for sure.
It's a big old boy there.
Yes, sir.
Old boy. And again, just a quick recap of the draft order this year, guys. This is how it sits. I believe this is set in stone now until trades happen. So with the number 1 pick, it's the Titans, 2 Browns, 3 Giants, 4 Patriots, 5 Jaguars. So if you're going to trade up into the top 5 and try to get one of those elite players, I don't think there's a snowball's chance in hell in that Goody does that. But if you're going to, you want to get in that top 5 to get one of those key players that we were just talking about. And it's going to be fun too. Live draft party, all that stuff in Green Bay, watching these players drop. You know, what we want to happen is both of those quarterbacks to go in the top 5. We want that to happen. And that's gonna set the board really, really well with us. We want quarterbacks, we want running backs, all those top tight ends, we want them flying off the board early, right? That's what I want to see happen. Also, safeties. I want to see 1, maybe 2 safeties go before we pick. That would be absolutely awesome because we're pretty well set at safety position. That's going to put us in a spot where we can get a position of need and get really, really good value there as we pick at 23, or maybe we climb up a few spots, maybe up around 15. It may fall just right, Tim, that they want to trade out of the first round. I would be opposed to that.
I was thinking that myself, that it might be more feasible and realistic that, we end up at, 13, 14 range there, a deal with Miami or Indianapolis or something, and move up a little bit, not all the way up into the top 5, but certainly up a little bit higher, especially if you feel like you got a guy you really want, and it looks like he's coming off the board. So I think that's probably more realistic than Goody going all the way up to top 5.
Yeah, definitely. Richard King in the chat, good to see you, buddy. He says double dip, Nolan and Harmon. What if both are dogs? Pay both in 4 or 5 years. That would be awesome, right? And there's a little bit of precedent there for Goody doing that. Look at what we did at safety. We loved Javon Bullard last draft, right?
Yep.
Well, he took Javon Bullard, and then he took Evan Williams. He took Evan Williams, and I was like, man, he's a lot lower on my board, right? Evan Williams was one of those. And again, my board is set to the safe pick, right? The guys at the top of my board are like, these are the guys who have shown the most consistency, essentially. Some of those lower guys on my board, people are going to have much higher because they have that upside that NFL teams love. So he takes Javon Bullard in the second. So it's obvious Goody had him ranked higher than Evan Williams, just like we did. And then he takes Evan Williams. Well, who ended up being the better player? Evan Williams, at least right now. And that could change. You don't know how players are going to develop as you get later in the
Don't forget, he triple dipped. We got another guy.
Got that right, man. And listen, Tim, he showed a lot of progress there, man. Like I know he didn't play much, but that last game of the season, Ola Home Depot, I thought he looked like he belonged, dude. There's no doubt in my mind.
I agree.
Of course, Zane Anderson flashed there a little bit as well, right? So you never know, man. You never know who's going to pop. And Oladapo may pass on both of them.
Yep. That's why you got to tip your cap to Goody for basically fixing the safety situation in one offseason, one draft, 1 year. Got rid of the dead weight, got some new talent in, and we look phenomenal on the back end now. And future's bright at the safety position.
Amen. Holmes MD1. I wish we would get away from these Sternberger, Musgrave types. They really work. They rarely work out with gadget tight ends. And to me, they were more valuable, Holmes, when we were in that West Coast spread that Mike McCarthy liked to run, right? Like how you utilize Jermichael Finley and players like that. I'm with you. I want someone that's more of a George Kittle type to play in this Matt LaFleur offense. But I guess the upside is just so big there, right, that it's hard for him to pass up on. And who knows, Sternberger, obviously, I think he got a DUI, I believe, and that's what got him kind of on the rocks. And then he's, out of the league. Next thing you know, he was one of the best, had the best hands of the tight ends coming out that year. I remember that. He set like a record for catches or something. And Musgrave, again, I'm not going to sit here and BS anybody. I watched his tape in college, and I really liked what I seen. Now, he had injuries, right? And that's why injuries are important to monitor, because that carried over to the NFL as it sits right now, So we'll see how it goes moving forward, though. This is a great comparison. Great job, Deadfish. Thank you for this info. Ben Sims, 6'5", 250, speed 4.59. Gadsden, 6'5", 236, speed 4.50. So kind of that Ben Sims mold there. Just Ben Sims I like Ben Sims. I just, the only thing that makes me hesitant, Tim, why the hell did they deactivate him in that last game of the season? I don't understand.
I have no idea.
I thought he played well with his opportunities. and all of a sudden he's deactivated and Fitzpatrick is active. Maybe there could have been something behind the scenes. I don't want to put that out there, not knowing, obviously, but also it could have been maybe a special teams decision. You never know.
Right. Any number of things, but yeah, that caught me off guard too. Seeing that was crazy.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. All right, let's see here. What else we got in the chat? I had a couple other things marked here. We'll get to that in a second, Prince. Appreciate you, buddy. Patrick, do you think the Packers wait until – yeah, we hit that one. I just didn't unmark it. All right. Drew D, hopefully the Steelers take Jackson Dart. Amen. Yep. Let somebody – here's the thing, too. Jackson Dart, some people see him as a first-round pick. Our board suggests otherwise. Where's Dane Brugler got him? That's probably the latest information we got. Let me see where they got Jackson Dart here. So they got Cam Ward 15. He's got Shador Sanders 25. He's got Jackson Dart 57. Now, the reason there's a chance that Jackson Dart could go in the first round is because teams want to be able to slap that fifth-year option on a player if they hit on it, right? So if Jackson Dart was to sneak into the first round, would he sneak above the Packers? Probably not. But there's a lot of time for workouts, combine, pro days, all that stuff, guys throwing, interviewing. He may crush the interviewing process. He may come out at the combine if he participates and just put on a laser show with perfect accuracy, and he could soar into the first round. Well, now you're getting into a position where if a team wants to – think of the teams that need a quarterback, essentially. The Eagles don't, the Chiefs don't, the Bills don't, the Commanders don't, the Lions don't, the Ravens don't, the Rams possibly a quarterback of the future, right, with Stafford getting older. Texans, no. Vikings, probably not because they like J.J. McCarthy. So the Rams would be that team that if they wanted to jump up and get a quarterback, but who are they leapfrogging? They're not leapfrogging anybody there, right? So if the Rams are the first team, what it means is teams may look to leapfrog the Rams. This is if, and it's a big if Jackson Dart does have a first-round grade on him by anybody in the league that's looking to take a quarterback early, then someone's going to be looking at this list just like we did, Tim, and go, yeah, we got to get ahead of the Rams. So that's just we're 2 spots ahead of the Rams. Maybe someone trades up to leapfrog the Rams to try to get a Jackson Dart or whatever quarterback may climb into the first round. I just know this, man. For as long as I've been watching the draft and keeping up with it, it seems like every single year at the last second, quarterback stocks just start to raise because it's that important of a position and people overvalue them. That's why I always say we're going to leave the quarterbacks with their grade and their ranking on our board, but you need to look at them as if they're one tier higher than where they actually are because teams will treat it that way. So I'm with Drew, though, man. I hope the Steelers take Jackson Dart. That'd be absolutely awesome.
Yeah, PFF's really high on him. They got him third as their third best quarterback in this draft, 118 overall. I'm not there. I don't know about you, but I think there's some other talent that's comparable. But I think that would help, like Drew D is saying, it certainly would help make the draft unfold like we want it to. And then we can stop hearing about Aaron Rodgers going to the Steelers. We hear those rumors.
Yeah, did you see one of the players actually spoke out against it? That was interesting. I was like, I don't know if that's going to happen. If it does, he'll be gone. That guy will be gone. But the other thing too is last year, think of quarterback. Remember, I remember watching the live draft party, and I was watching Michael Lombardi's coverage. I went back and watched it after we did our party. That's one bad thing about doing a live draft show is you miss out on some of the awesome coverage out there if you're hosting one. But I went back and watched Michael Lombardi's show on VSiN the day after. He called it early in the draft. He said, I just got a text that there's going to be – it was either 5 or 6 quarterbacks taken in the first round. And everybody was like, whoa, what are we talking about? And sure enough, they took that same amount. So that nobody was expecting that to happen, right? And then at the last second, bang, that falls into place. So there's a chance there could be multiple quarterbacks taken. In terms of where Dane Brugler have them, though, like I said, Cam Ward, 15, Shador Sanders, 25, 57, Jackson Dart, 59, Tyler Shue, 61, Jalen Milroe, and then it drops down to 84 for Will Howard. So you would think if there's a chance that multiple quarterbacks climb into the first round, Jalen Milroe, Tyler Shue, and Jackson Dart are going to be those quarterbacks that might potentially creep into the first round. I hope they all do. I don't see it at the moment, though. Go ahead if you want to read that one, Tim.
Just Drew D saying Jackson Dart's coach is Lane Kiffin, great quarterback coach. So Dart probably does well in the interviews too. makes a lot of sense. I would think that any teams meeting with him probably feel good about him as a prospect just based on where he's played his football past season. So
yeah. So we'll see. Make a note here real quick. All right. So another comment here we have. Mark that. Holmes, I wish. Okay, we already got that one. Prince was the one I wanted to get to. So Prince said, "Watch the post June 1 cut designations." And obviously, last year, if you'll remember, was it last year or was it the year before that was Devondre Campbell? It was the year before, right, Tim?
I believe so. Yeah.
So Devondre Campbell is a perfect example of that. When you hear us talk about post June 1, and we've mentioned Kenny, and I don't know exactly how that would fall into place, how they would split it, but like instead of cutting someone pre June 1 that has 2 more years of guarantees on their contract, you can go post June 1 and kick it back and kind of, it's not really split in half, but it's, you're kind of absorbing a little less hit that year. It's the same amount of guaranteed money that you got in cap penalty, right? So you can't get away from that guaranteed money. It's just when do you want it allocated? And that post June 1 is a way that you can kind of kick it on down the road a little bit. Let me give you an example. Like Preston Smith last year, we obviously traded him. His cap hit this year on us, okay, 2025 dead money, $9.8 million that we still have allocated towards the cap for Preston Smith. And there's Devondre Campbell. So this is the second half of that post June 1 cut that we did with Devondre Campbell that we're still absorbing that. If we had did it pre June 1, we would not have this cap penalty this year, right? Or this dead cap this year. But the fact that we went post June 1, that's why it carried over. If we had went pre June 1, we would have had to absorb that cap hit last year. So it's just a way to keep some cap room freed up on the current year, knowing that the bill is going to come due later. It's just another way you can kind of massage the salary cap there. So again, when you look at these, it sucks to see dead cap, Tim. It really does. But Preston Smith did he get cut, or he's going to get cut by the Steelers, or he's not going to be re-signed? I can't remember what it was. So we picked up a 7th round pick, and he isn't even going to make the other roster. It sounds like he may be done in the NFL. I imagine someone will pick him up for a minimum. He's still got a little bit of gas in the tank, but you don't look at that and go, man, that sucks. We let a good player go and we're still on the hook for the money. You
right.
Gave those snaps to LVN and you moved on, and it's obvious that he's not in high demand. That tells you his true value. But again, 3.5% of our cap in 2025 is going to Preston Smith. I don't think that's horrible, but I just want to point out these are the dead cap hits here. Devondre Campbell, $7.9 million. So I don't think anybody's wishing Devondre Campbell was on the team right now, right?
Yeah, you think he's going to play football anymore?
There ain't a team. If I would be, you talking about betting the farm, I would bet the farm that Devondre Campbell, there's not a team that's going to go out there and go, yeah, that's the dude we want in our locker room, because he quit on that team. And, man, I mean, that is wild. He was sitting on the bench, Tim, to collect a check. And the second they tried to get him to go into the game, he said, no, I'm not going in. You can't come back from that, bro. You can't come back from that.
That's in the words of the great Charles Barkley.
That's terrible.
It is terrible, Chuck. So outside of that 9.8 to Preston Smith and that 7.9 to Devondre Campbell, the next one is Sean Clifford at $162,000, right? So, I mean, Anders Carlson, $78,000, guys. Those are pennies on the dollar. Michael Pratt, you guys remember, I love that track.
Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't work.
Where did Pratt end up again?
I want to say Jacksonville,
Okay.
closer to where he played in college. But then I think they ended up cutting him too. I could be wrong. He may be on a practice squad or something and signed to a futures. But, yeah.
I could see them moving on from Clifford for sure, I think. What do you think? I mean, he's getting older.
I don't know where the value truly is there. If they like him as a scout team guy, that could be the case. I think Matt LaFleur really likes him. Matt LaFleur's been vocal about Sean Clifford. And I think the term he uses, he's a gamer, right? And there's some value there. Sean Clifford seems like he's that dude that his career arc is he's going to be a practice squad player and he's going to be a scout team quarterback. And then the second that dries up, I could see him going to coaching, kind of like what Sean Mannion did.
Sean Mannion, yeah.
That type of thing. It just feels like that, but I could be wrong. But, yeah, so anyway, there are your dead money cap hits for 2025. I know some people are looking at it and going, Kalen King, hold up a minute. How's he a dead cap hit when he's still active on the roster? Remember, they cut him and signed him to the practice squad, if I remember correctly, right? So when you do that, same thing with Sean Clifford, that resets the contract. You don't just keep that rookie contract. It now resets, so you don't have that 4-year deal, and any dead cap that's attached to that, which is basically guaranteed money, it goes as dead money moving forward. So that's how that works. It may
end up the chat. They figured out where Pratt is. Pratt's in Tampa.
So
Chad Inc. in the chat. Thank you.
Good stuff, man. Yeah, so we'll see, man. We'll see how this all shakes out. But I think that Goody's done a hell of a job with the salary cap, him and Russ Ball. And obviously this time last year, I think it was, 2023. I keep saying last year, but it might have been 2 years. We were carrying a $41 million cap penalty on Aaron Rodgers. So, yeah. And we made that work. Right? Still made the playoffs. That's wild to think about. That's why I tipped my cap to Matt LaFleur, man. The people that are hard on Matt LaFleur is like, he's had the youngest team in the league. He was carrying one of the highest dead cap hits based off the roster they put together for him, and he still finds a way to make it to the playoffs. That's a wild thing for me. King Tron with the super chat. Thank you, buddy. He says, I don't care, man. Kalen King was a huge draft crush of mine. Hey, I'm with you, Tron. Kalen King was one of those dudes, in my opinion, that was like the year before he was the top corner in the draft going into the college football season. By the end of the season, he all of a sudden now he's dropped to a 7th round pick. I think there's something there. And I will say I've been a little bit critical of Matt LaFleur and the Packers in general and how they won't give these young guys as much opportunity. That's one dude last year. I'm going, why are we not just putting him on the field? Let's just see what we got there. He may ball out. And he's kind of built like a slot. He's very physical in that regard. I'm with you, Tron. I like Kalen King a lot, but it's obvious that Coach Half and Matt LaFleur see something totally different, or if they thought he could be a starter, I think they'd have him on the field, and that's where I got to kind of check my ego and be like, but I'm with you, man. I really like Kalen. I know
you might get a shot year 2, though. You never know.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with, I'm assuming it'll be official soon, moving on from Eric Stokes. There'll be a spot open up for him to step up into a, backup role, at least in this defense. We'll see.
Yeah, it could happen for sure. All right. Thank you for that super chat. Appreciate you, buddy. A couple other things we wanted to get to real quick before we run out of time. Let's go to Twitter real quick. I had a couple things on there. Obviously, we already hit on that draft. So we'll move it along. That's just MVP talk. All right. These were a couple cool graphics that I want to share with you, Tim. It might be hard for you to see. I'll try to click on it in a second.
Oh, it's always hard for me to see, Clayton. I'm getting old and blinder by the day, man.
I hear you. So talking about this defensive tackle class or the interior defensive class, right? Football Insights does a great job. Go give them a follow at football_insights. Defensive interior production percentiles among past NFL draft picks. All right. So looking at this list here, I just want to focus on the people that are in the draft this year. Now I'll try to get in there as much as I can. On the chart, and for everybody on the pod, running vertically on the left, okay, on the left side of this chart is pass rush win rate, and then on the bottom, running from left to right, is run stop rate. So your best combination of both a run defender and a pass rusher with interior defensive linemen in this year's draft are going to be in that upper right quadrant. Although it's going to show you even the people that aren't in the upper right quadrant, the one in the upper left are going to be extremely good pass rushers, and the one in the lower right are going to have a much better run stop rate. Okay, so the players in the upper right, let's start there, Tim. I'll read them to you. According to this chart, the best defensive lineman in this draft, okay, pass rush win rate and run stop rate, which you guys know, I'm not a big pass rush win rate guy. I'd much rather see the tape. Did they apply pressure or not? Sometimes they credit wins, and it's like they won't show you what was credited a win and what was credited a loss. I'm sorry, man. I'm a skeptic by nature. I'm going to be like, okay, they're just going, trust me, bro. Okay, cool. And all it takes is a second to go, this timestamp, this player right here, and all that question will be out the window. But for whatever reason, PFF doesn't do it. So Mason Graham is the best defensive lineman in these two metrics going in this draft. Guess who's second, Tim? You see him here, I'm sure. But Thor Griffith.
Really?
Yeah. He's right behind Mason Graham. He's what appears to be right at the same level as being the fourth best pass rushing interior defensive lineman in terms of pass rush win rate, but he is definitely the second or third best in run stop rate. So when you talk about the combination of both, he's up there toward the top, and this really grabbed my attention. So if we go to our board, I'm not going to put it on the screen. I'm just going to read it to you guys. Thor Griffith is in the 138 spot for us. Yeah. And the thing that brings him down is the PFF big board and the consensus big board. Outside of that, he wasn't in Dane Brugler's top 100. He wasn't in the 33rd team's top 100. He wasn't in Daniel Jeremiah's top 50. So Thor Griffith seems like really good value if he were to fall a significant amount.
PFF is low on him too. They got him at 276.
Mm-hmm. And what's crazy
overall,
what's crazy is when I took this information down, Tim, Thor Griffith was 230 on their board. So he's dropped since then.
Wow. 6'2", 320. It's a big boy.
Thick.
Back to Jaden Reed, okay? And when Goody took Reed, we were like, man, what does he see there? Well, it was the year before grade, right? This year, Thor Griffith was the 26th highest graded defensive tackle in college football. Last year, he was not. So that's a player that maybe had an off year, and that's what's plummeted his stock. Maybe there's something else there. If anybody knows in the chat, let us know why he may have fell. Their Prince just said Thor has been there on mocks in the 5th and 6th from what I've seen. So that just saying that's one to earmark. Yep. You might see him a little later in the draft. That might be a real quality pick.
He is a 3-tech also. Mm-hmm. That's what we talk about.
So next on this list, if you're looking at the chart, and it's a little bit subjective, right? You can kind of pick and choose. There's Omar Norman Lott is hands down the next better rounded according to these metrics. I'm going to continue to say according to these metrics because it's not everything. It's just these are the guys that stick out when you look at these two metrics in comparison, right? So let's go on our board here. Where do we have Omar Norman Lott? Let's see here, Norman. We have him in the 121 spot, Tim. And the thing that's bringing him down for us is his PFF grades. 227 and 327 were his 23 and 24 rankings there. As Drew D says, Omar Norman Lott just scares me a little because he played very few snaps. And the fact that he played very few snaps and his grade was that low, obviously. Tim, do you have his actual grades? I know that was his rankings, but
I can probably
I can look it up right here. No problem.
Quick, Let's see. I got him last year 69.4 PFF grade in 2024 overall. That's all I've got here.
In 2023, he was 71.6. So
a little bit of a drop off. Yeah.
You see, he doesn't look dominant. So, but when you look at these metrics, again, this is why you go, okay, he had a damn good pass rush win rate and a damn good run stop rate. Why was his grade so low? You know what I mean?
He only had 5 sacks. That's why.
Could be. Again, they don't give you the full recipe, right? And right. That's what I'm going to continue to say that, but I love NFL Pro that it's, hey, this is a pressure. Watch it yourself. I love that aspect, man. Love it. So next on this list, when you're looking at the upper right quadrant, you can kind of go either direction. I'm going to go Walter Nolan because he's so darn good at run stop rate. You got him over there. I mean, he's almost all the way maxed out. He's just about as good of a run stop rate there as Mason Graham. And then Joey Slackman with him. Now, if you go on the opposite spectrum and look at pass rush win rate, you'd have Darius Alexander. You would have Jared Harrison Hunter, I think it is, or Hunt. And then Simeon Barrow Jr. are 3 other names that are sitting there. So with Joey Slackman, that one's interesting. Let's see where we got him at on our board. We got him at 286. Wow, dude. Listen to this, Tim. If you were to look up his grades, you would see he was cheeks in 24, 336th graded defensive tackle. Guess what he was in 23?
What?
3rd.
Holy cow.
Yeah. Now, his pass rush win rate isn't great, like it isn't up toward the top, but it's definitely above the median line. That's a player maybe to look for late in the draft. So you're starting to get a couple of these that are, a little later there. So really, really interesting.
That would be ideal, right? If we're going to try and get 2, right? Maybe we can snag one early, and then on the back end get someone kind of, mid to late rounds and double dip there at D tackle.
Yeah. So now let's kind of be a little narrow sided here, and let's focus on just pass rush win rate. Okay, forget the run stop rate because these guys are below the median line at run stop rate, but they're great pass rushers. Ioannis Peebles out of Virginia Tech is the second best pass rush win rate, only behind Mason Graham. And then right behind him, third best, is your boy Deion Walker, Tim.
There's a guy.
After him, you got Riley Mills. He's still above the 0.9 mark. And then Derek Harmon right there as well. So those are big-name guys. So you look at those, you go, man, those are guys that are mentioned. Like Ioannis Peebles is someone that the Packers have been all over this year, right? They've already met with him. Deion Walker is a dude that, pass rush, I'm telling you, it's a premium. There's going to be teams that would choose this over the run stop rate. I guarantee it.
Yep.
If you go in the opposite spectrum there, you've got Cameron Jackson from Florida, right? Actually, I need to mention some of the others in the upper right quadrant. Tyleik Williams, TJ Sanders, they're all up there as well, right? Kenneth Grant this one surprised me, Tim. He's right around the median line of everything.
Yeah.
See, that's really interesting. And there's our boy CJ West, who's great late round talent, right? Or late round value. But with Kenneth Grant, I looked at that and I went, that's something to make a mental note of. Because if you remove the names and you just drafted strictly off of this quadrant here in the upper right, if you went that route, it'd be Mason Graham, Thor Smith, and Omar Norman Lott, right?
Yep.
So, and again, I'm not saying that's what you should do, but I think it's worth making a mental note,
For sure.
Anything else you
Shout
want
out to Richard King. Which is more important, pass rush or run stop? Yes. That would be my answer. Yes, they're both important. I don't know if you can I guess with us we'd probably have more of an emphasis on the pass rush, I think, right? We need someone that can put some pressure, get some pressure on the quarterback. That was one of our big issues, especially after watching the Eagles basically rush 4 all day and get 5 or 6 sacks and win the Super Bowl without blitzing. So I think I'm putting a little more emphasis on the pass rush when I'm looking at these guys. What do you think?
There's no doubt in my mind that across the league, they place more value on the pass rush, in my opinion. I mean, you see how we have drafted, and even like TJ Slate and everybody's like, oh, he's a big body defender. He's going to be a good run defender, and he is good, I think, at run defense. But his pass rush is what really catches people off guard. Like, he's a pretty damn good pass rusher. I think when scouts, the best way to answer that question, Richard, is if you've got 2 players, right, and one is really good at run stop and really bad at pass rush, and the other is really good at pass rush and really bad at run stop, and you made a GM choose between those 2, they're taking the pass rush because it's a passing league. I believe that with everything in me. I'm not saying I 100% agree with it, but that's definitely the way the league approaches that, Again, when you look at how the Eagles beat the Chiefs and absolutely boat raced them, right? You didn't look at it like, boy, they really stopped their run. No, they put pressure in Patrick Mahomes' face all day long. And if you jump up to even a 1-score lead and you start to make that opposing offense one-dimensional, man, you can absolutely dominate the game, So
absolutely, especially getting home with 4. You got 7 guys in coverage. You got 4 guys getting home. I mean, that's a recipe for success against the best of the best in this league for sure.
And based off of the tape, and it's my opinion, I think Tim agrees, you may not, based off of the tape and what we watched all year with the Packers, you can manufacture a run-stopping defense. But you got to really sacrifice your pass rush to do it, right? Yep. So if you can manufacture a run-stopping front by not pinning your ears back and really focusing on the run gaps, if you can do that, then you would want your team to be able to pass rush because you can always fall back on, hey, we're really just going to kind of keep everything under control and stop the run today. I feel like that argument there also lends a credence to the whole let's take a pass rusher over a run stopper. I want both. Don't get me wrong. I want the Texas dominant. And that's why last night we went up and got Mason Graham with the 5th pick, right? That's hands down. Like Thor Griffith and Omar Norman Lott, they crept up into the conversation today based off this one chart, right? Yep. But other people, like Drew was saying, you look at other things, no, I don't see it. Mason Graham is there in every damn conversation. He's the dude. He's that guy. There's no doubt in my mind. He's going to be the next great interior defensive lineman unless something goes crazy wrong,
Yep.
And Darius Alexander is interesting here too, because that's
you read my mind. You read my mind. I'm looking at him right now. That's a guy I'm excited about because I think it's actually realistic that we might be able to get this guy.
Right.
You know,
and he's
6'4",
skyrocketing.
310 out of Toledo.
Mm-hmm. If people hear that and they would think, well, wouldn't you take Derek Harmon over him? Based off this chart, no.
Yeah.
Right. Now Derek Harmon's got value, don't get me wrong, but he's a better pass rusher according to this chart. But with Darius Alexander, obviously he's a significantly better run defender, and you would want both. That's maybe why Walter Nolan, Joey Slackman, Tyleek Williams, TJ Sanders, these guys who are really good run defenders, Omar Norman Lott, Thor Griffith, they're looking at them at probably a later pick. But Thor Griffith and Omar Norman Lott, man, that pass rush is solid according to this pass rush win rate. So anyway, I thought it would be fun to kind of dive into that. I had another tweet. I got to be careful here. I'm going to run way behind on time, and I got to get on the road. This is just a quick little conversation, Tim. 2 or 3 minutes we'll hit this because I wanted to try to get caught up, and this will be the final one that we hit. So this defense has got me excited, man. First year under half, I thought the guys responded really well, and I said very excited to see this Packers defense take the next step. Here is the similar chart. I'll try to get it zoomed in for you.
Look who's in the upper right quadrant.
But that team defensive grading and efficiency through the Super Bowl. Okay, so here's what you got. On the left side, running vertically, you got EPA per play allowed, all right? And then on the bottom, running from left to right, is PFF defensive grade. And like Tim pointed out, the Packers are in that upper right quadrant. Now, they're closer to the median line in overall PFF defensive grade, but EPA per play allowed, boy, they're 1, 2, 3, 4. They're fourth in the league. Vikings fifth. I've seen the Eagles up there now because of our logo. Let me see if I can get that down just to make sure I'm not missing anybody else.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. Where's Philly? They got there they are right where they belong.
Eagles are absolutely pegged out in the upper right corner. They're way above everybody else, obviously. And again, what did they do? They built through the trenches. We've talked about it over and over and over again. That's one lonely Panther, says Prince. They're so far out in the wilderness, aren't they, man? And it's crazy, too, because remember when everybody was screaming, we need our defensive coordinator, we need our defensive coordinator?
Yeah.
What happened?
They're out there hanging around with
Duval.
The kitty cats out there in nowhere land, right?
Yeah.
So obviously the Eagles are number one. Let's just focus on EPA per play allowed. The Eagles are number one, Vikings 2, Broncos 3, Texans 4, Packers are 5th in EPA per play allowed. And then defensive grade from PFF, they would be, I'm going to just kind of guess here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, probably around the 13 spot, 12 to 13 in defensive grade. And again, EPA per play allowed, I'm taking that over PFF grade all day long because that is a result statistic. That's here's what you did, right? As opposed to here's what the guys and gals at PFF think. That makes sense. So
yeah, exactly. There's more information there because we don't know PFF's formula.
Right.
I don't know. Do they just like put a blindfold on and throw darts at a dartboard, and pick people? Like we have no idea.
And again, some people hear us, Tim, and they're probably thinking, man, they hate PFF. We don't.
No.
There's other people that think, man, they think PFF's everything. No, we don't. It's just another source, another metric.
Yep.
The best way I heard it described to me, and it really opened my eyes up, Michael Lombardi and Bill Belichick talked about this on their coach podcast, that who's evaluating the evaluator? Like when Belichick was in New England all those years winning all those championships, he had an army of guys doing analytics and evaluating and grading the tape, right? Well, guess who evaluated the evaluators? Bill Belichick did.
Nope.
Right? Michael Lombardi probably helped when he was in-house. Matt Patricia, people like that, people who've been around the game. We don't know if anyone evaluates the evaluators at PFF because they won't even tell us who the evaluators are.
Yep.
So that's why you got to be careful, man. You got to just not – it's not the gospel. It's another tool we can use. And when you cross-reference and you cross-check and you go, okay, PFF matches up with this other one I like as well, that's when you think, all right, we got us a solid player, right?
Yep.
And that's like why when you look at Josh Myers as another conversation piece, and we'll wrap up with this, is like PFF says his grade was horrible. And you got people that say, well, I watched the tape and those PFF grades are wrong. Well, I watched the tape too, and I kind of agree with PFF there. Everybody's subjective, right? And then you look at the pressures allowed, you look at the hurries allowed. That's you put all the pieces to the puzzle in place and don't allow one emotional person on Twitter to sway your opinion. You go make your own opinion, right? Draw your own conclusion. Because you know how serious you're taking the evaluation, Tim, right? You can be honest with yourself and know, all right, I have to check myself all the time because I like specific players, right? Yep. And I want it to work out. That's like with the whole Gary thing. I'm trying to step back and and after 10 minutes, I'm going, no, this is BS. This dude is not playing bad football.
Right.
He's not all pro material, but he's our best pass rusher. So
for sure.
Anyway, anything else you want to add here, man? I got to wrap up and grab a shower and get on the road here.
No, man, hit the road. We'll be back tonight, right?
Yeah, definitely back 7 p.m. Central for PTA Live. And we will we'll break down some more stuff here. I'm glad we got the Twitter stuff in there. That's good. If I can remember this tackling grade thing I wanted to hit on, tackling grades where the Packers ranked a lot better in tackling. I need to make a note here. I think that was NFL.com. Just a second here. I know it's on my Twitter. It was on my Twitter. Tackle. Cool. We'll try to hit on that. We'll hit on Dane Brugler's big board. And if we have time tonight, we'll do another mock draft where we focus on just defensive tackle sticking and picking. And then we'll kind of readjust, recalibrate, and moving forward, we'll start to use Pro Football Network as our mock draft kind of headquarters. So it'll be fun.
Can't wait to draft Deion Walker tonight. Let's go.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Appreciate you, Holmes. Everybody have a great day. Like I said, we'll see you tonight. Hit that like button on the way out. Special shout out to Kingtron. Thank you for the super chat. But everybody have a wonderful day. Stay warm out there. Talk to you.
And we go. We out.
Bye, guys.